What is up, guys? Welcome back to CageChat MMA. We're here, of course, for UFC Vegas 20, the recap. And obviously, we saw Ciyrl Gane defeat Jairzinho Rozenstruik by what was a great performance by Gane. Obviously, it wasn't the way the fight planned out that we was maybe expecting going into the fight. But Gane put on the performance he needed to. And I think if we had this in football terms, it would be known as the Mourinho masterclass. It was a very tactical fight. It was one that it was hit and not get hit. Both of those two power punchers respected each other and knew what the other one would bring in terms of that knockout power, that knockout ability to strike at any moment. And they'd seen it the week prior, obviously with Derek Lewis and Curtis Blaydes. Curtis Blaydes coming in with the more sophisticated game plan, you could say. Derek Lewis waited it out, came out in the second round and struck with that knockout. And he thought maybe the same was going to happen with Jairzinho Rozenstruik on Saturday night, should I say. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. And make sure to hit that follow button if you're watching on Facebook or Twitch, of course. But I feel to Rozenstruik, he looked like a deer stuck in the headlights. While Ciyrl Gane, dominated the center of the cage, picked his shots, was much quicker, was much more, he was much more direct in his strikes. He was hitting everything he threw, he pretty much hit. And we'll have a look in the statistics in a bit later on. But the output that came from Ciyrl Gane and the amount of the percentage of strikes that landed compared to Rozenstruik, he didn't have a bad performance if you look at the statistics in terms of output. But he was I say that he was averaging 10 strikes a round, which maybe sums up his performance on the night, Jairzinho Rozenstruik. But as this game goes, especially in the heavyweight division, sometimes you get Curtis Blaydes and Derek Lewis like we did last week. Sometimes you get Jairzinho Rozenstruik and Junior Dos Santos, Andrei Arlovski and Alan Crowder. But sometimes you end up getting a Francis Ngannou, Derek Lewis, and sometimes you end up with a Rozenstruik and Gane like we did on Saturday night. And maybe you can take similarities from that fight. Rozenstruik did get knocked out only 9-10 months ago, back in May, when we started back up with the UFC. And maybe that is still back in their head. Maybe it wasn't so much for Junior Dos Santos, because he knows Junior Dos Santos is maybe on the tail end of his career. He hasn't got the power, he hasn't got the speed, and Rozenstruik came in and flattened him as he did with Alan Crowder and Andrei Arlovski and etc. But maybe knew that Gane, being an up-and-comer, being someone who's got so much power, a fantastic kickboxer, he's in tremendous shape, showed he can go 5 rounds in his first main event, of course, albeit he was the one, almost dictating the pace of the fight. So maybe if the pace had been dictated more by Rozenstruik at a faster pace, at a higher pace, who knows? But even then, when we have seen Rozenstruik go 5 rounds, he wasn't the one pushing the pace either, was he? If we were thinking about it, Alistair Overeem was very much the one pushing the pace, and it was a very similar fight as to what we saw last night, or on Saturday, I keep saying last night. It was a very similar fight in terms of, Alistair Overeem should have got a 50-45 win on the night, but those last 4 seconds, Jairzinho Rozenstruik pulled out that knockout. Maybe he's thinking he could do the same on Saturday night, Sunday morning. If he'd landed one, then Gane would go to sleep. But unfortunately, and unlike Alistair Overeem, Gane made sure he was out of the way before anything could happen to him. And he's 8-0 now. He's going to be in the top 5 of the heavyweight division and the heavyweight rankings when they come out tomorrow or Wednesday morning, Tuesday and Wednesday morning when they do get announced. And he's going to be high up there. You see the heavyweight division as a whole at the moment, and obviously we've got the title fight at the end of the month, which is going to dictate how the rest of these contenders play out, because we've got 2 or 3 now. Well, we've got 2 at least in terms of Derek Lewis and Ciyrl Gane, and I'd say Alexander Volkov is maybe one step behind that, and maybe 4th. But we've got John Jones coming into the mix. We've got potential rematches and hurdles that we're going to have to get through, especially if Ngannou wins. We're going to need a trilogy bout, which may push off John Jones, who could potentially go back down to light heavyweight, depending on what goes on at 259 this weekend, of course, between Adesanya and Blachowicz. If Adesanya wins, he's going to be calling out John Jones to come get his belt back, or try and get his belt back, you could say. So that then puts a spanner in the works in the timeline for the rest of the heavyweight contenders. So, we saw a lot of people, almost throwing Ciyrl Gane under the bus for not pushing the fight, for not pushing to that knockout. And, we love Michael Bisping, but, and this is no knocking him because we can see where he's coming from. saying and stating about it, they're not gaining any fans on the night, they're not, putting on a show reel performance. But, especially in that division when you're 250, 260 pounds on the fight night and more, it does only take one strike. It's not like, as we saw in the bantamweight division, Jimmie Rivera and Pedro Munhoz put on a fantastic war. But they can, they do a knockout fight with Pedro Munhoz and Cody Garbrandt, but it takes a little bit longer, it takes a little bit more. And obviously, if you get caught in the right place at the right time with the right speed, you do go out. But these two heavyweights and two giants put on an okay performance, and we don't want to see it run back anytime soon. But it probably will be run back because these two are still very young, 30 and 32. Yeah, 32 for Rozenstruik. So they're going to cross paths again in 2 years. Within 2 years, you could say at least, especially with them both being at the very top of the division as well. Rozenstruik obviously came out and said it was his worst performance, which, it was very raw and emotional because it was only a couple of hours after that fight. And maybe it was. I've been, playing the thought in my head. Obviously, the Ngannou fight, he did get knocked out pretty badly. And obviously, that was only, 40 seconds into the fight. And I don't know as a fighter, but maybe mentally that is almost easier to take because you can put it down to luck. You can put it down to circumstances of the night. You just got clipped. Whereas if you get a 50-45, you've been dominated. And obviously, he did look gun shy. It wasn't like, it's not like we haven't seen that from him before. And we've seen him, get fantastic knockout wins. That other ring one is the pick of the bunch out of his wins in the UFC. That is much more similar to the performance that we saw from Saturday night against Gane. But again, it did emulate almost Derek Lewis and Gane, two fighters who were lacking confidence on the night, lacking, showing respect to each other, knowing that, again, if they got caught off the other one, that it's probably night to them. And when you're playing stakes this high, you can't afford to do that. We saw Tyron Woodley, defend titles like that. Again, to mention Floyd Mayweather 50-0. There's a reason why he was 50-0, because he didn't let the fans or the spectacle get ahead of him. He was in there to do a job. And Ciyrl Gane was very much the same on Saturday night. And again, we've got the Venom deal coming into play next month. A French-based company or a French-created company of France and Ngannou fighting for a title. Obviously, he's from Cameroon, but via France. We've got a lot of French fighters coming up as well. Morgan Sherrier from Cage Warriors, he's probably got one title defense in him before moving to the UFC. Obviously, we've got MMA legalized in France now. It wouldn't be so shocking to see a Paris card from the UFC showing off the Venom deal, maybe. Getting Ciyrl Gane on the card in Ghana. Some of the UK lads, Leon Edwards, Tom Aspinall, showing off the new Venom deal. And I think Cage Warriors are going to Paris later on in the year. Maybe that's Morgan Sherrier's almost homecoming to defend the belt there before moving on to the UFC. And how great would it be to make his UFC debut in France as well? Now, to look at the statistics, of course, 49 out of 100, 11 strikes for Rozenstruik up against 128 and 202, out of 202 for Ciyrl Gane. So you can see the fight was won on a lot of output, albeit not the most fantastic fight, but Gane pushed the pace. He was the dance. He was the leader in the dance on Saturday. 42 significant strikes there for Rozenstruik up against 102. So, over double the amount of significant strikes landed, as well as 2 out of 14 takedowns. Again, it's a fantastic experience for Gane. He's going to get a lot of confidence from that. He's going to get a lot of confidence knowing he can go to 5 rounds now. Now, for what's next for Gane, I do think you give him Volkov. I think the winner last night deserved Alexander Volkov. I think Alexander Volkov, after his performance against Alistair Overeem, deserved the winner of last night. I think Derek Lewis has been smart with his call-out, knowing that Alistair Overeem is probably going to take the bite to that sort of bait being called out, saying the fight was meant to happen numerous times before. Alistair Overeem now coming off that loss to Volkov. Obviously, I was speaking on Twitter about making that fight, and Damon Martin came back and said it doesn't make sense that Derek Lewis, coming off the back of with Overeem coming off the back of the loss. And I don't know. I don't think that fight needs to make sense to Derek Lewis. I think he just wants to fight a legend to get that legend name on his resume. He's got a couple on there already, and it does hold out a bit of hope for Overeem in that title chase that he's so desperately looking after. And for me, I think that's a good fight to make. Yeah, I think, no, let's say Ngannou, whatever happens with Stipe Ngannou, if Jones is definitely the next competitor, I think if that happens in August, September time, probably August now because we know Masvidal, and this one's most likely going to be in September. If that happens in August, you say, right, Overeem Lewis, we're going to put you two together with Derek Lewis. You will be the backup to the heavyweight main event, and you could be fighting for a title against Ngannou or Jones, one of them that make it. Because obviously we know, albeit we hope and pray that Jones is doing this move up to heavyweight cleanly. We've seen him test positive prior to events before, so that will need a backup for the heavyweight division. Stipe Miocic, if he loses to Ngannou, probably will be out for 6 or 7 months if he hasn't retired due to certain injuries and whatnot. He won't, and his nature isn't to get in there quickly. Is it? 3 fights in 3 years, or 4 fights in 3 years. But obviously that trilogy fight took place over three separate years at least. So yeah, I think that fight makes sense. And we do Gane versus Volkov, and we put that in Europe. Maybe that's the headline for UFC Paris. 5 rounds in Paris, that's going to do good numbers. But even put it in Moscow, in Russia, if you want to put Volkov on that side. But obviously, without the rankings that go, Rozenstruik's in 4th, so you're going to expect Gane to be in 4th at least. So he will be ahead of Volkov. And let's have a stand-up battle for that. And the Rozenstruik, I would put him up against Curtis Blades. Both of them coming off the back of losses now. I feel sorry for Curtis Blades if he was to be given that matchup. But again, if you want to be heavyweight champion, you've got to beat the best. And both of them coming off the losses. Both of them not coming off well. Blades is a more damaging loss in terms of health-wise, but his stock didn't lower. Rozenstruik's stock somewhat lowered, but not by too much. I think more because we was expecting a little bit more from him. But the loss is one of those nights. Francis Ngannou's lost to Derek Lewis hasn't cost him too dearly in the eyes of the fans, especially if Rozenstruik came out and then put a good finish away in his next fight. Everyone sort of quickly forgets that fight. And it happened in the same sort of period, that 32-year-old stage for Ngannou as well, I believe. So it does make sense to make that fight, in my opinion. Obviously, we will be having fights to make after UFC Vegas 20 come out tomorrow. So make sure to hit that subscribe button as well. Now moving on to the co-main event again. I was looking through the Tapology results last night. I didn't realize how many of these fights went to decision. All but one went to the decision. So you did, got your money's worth in terms of the ESPN Plus side of the card. Obviously, the free card over in the UK. But you have to pay your monthly subscription for PT. But, Magomed Ankalaev showed that he's a real contender up against Nikita Krylov. He put on a real proper gritty performance against Ukraine, and it wasn't. The fight was expecting, again, similar to the main event. I don't think it was expected to see the judges' card to get involved on the night, but Ankalaev did enough. He pushed the pressure. He was always getting Krylov up against the cage, and it didn't really look too bothering for him. He was coming off that fantastic win against Ciyrl Gane with that knockout, and obviously there was a lot of talk and a lot of hype going into this fight. Walker had that decision win against. Krylov had that decision win against Walker, of course. And for me, it was a good win for Ankalaev. And again, I put him up against for the light heavyweight division, of course. I put him up against Volkan Ozdemir. He's going to be right behind him after you had to take Nikita Krylov in that division. Obviously, Anthony Smith is facing Jimmie Crute. You got Yuri Prochazka, the Reyes. You got Rakic versus Thiago Santos this weekend. Whether Teixeira might be a step too far, I don't think he deserves a number 1 contender spot right now. But put him up against Ozdemir, a former title challenger. And let's see how that plans out, because it could be a problem in this division this year. You got some kids in there, and he deserves to be looking up at that top 8, top 7 now. But to look at the statistics, of course, 58 strikes there for Nikita Krylov up against 89 there for Ankalaev. So again, the output winning in the fight. 3 out of 9 takedowns as well. I believe that's a takedown in every round, if memory serves correct as well. He really got the control of the fight on the night, and was too much for Krylov in the end. So let's look at the stats per round. Let's see. So it obviously outstruck him every round. And I'm trying to find the statistics for the legs So yeah, 1 takedown in each round is no, 1 takedown in round 2, 2 takedowns in round 3. So clearly winning the fight. And again, looking dangerous and looking at a problem for this lightweight division. But yeah, let's see against Volkan Ozdemir, a top quality striker. He was only fighting for the title 3 years ago, wasn't it? Against DC 4 years ago, maybe now. Jesus, it's been a long time. But hey, let's move on to what was clearly fight night, and that's Pedro Munhoz versus Jimmie Rivera. Pedro Munhoz coming out, giving us an absolute war and showing that the growth and how common this calf kick has become. Especially in 2021, it was a lot common, but I think especially since the Dustin Poirier McGregor fight, that really showed the prowess and the importance of that calf kick and how much of the weapon it can be and how disabilitating it can be. And you saw Jimmie Rivera going into that, coming out of that first round, sitting at the store saying his legs killing him. After what was, it was only 5 minutes, but he already eaten 20 leg kicks. And we see how dangerous and painful that is. His leg was purple by the end of that fight, but he stood tough just for it. And he thought, he was swinging a couple of times, and Pedro Munhoz got caught a couple of times, but not really anything too damaging. And Pedro Munhoz got a good solid win, a deserved win. And it isn't. There's many people saying book the trilogy right now. I think let's give Jimmie Rivera's calf a little bit of time to recover. Let's give them maybe a different opponent to train with. But again, these two, you saw it in the first fight. These two match up very well stylistically, and neither of them backed down from a fight and a war. And these two were rightfully fight of the night. I believe they got fight of the night because they got their bonus, and obviously there was only one performance of the night bonus handed out as well, which says a lot about the card. Although I did enjoy the card as a whole. Looking at the statistics, 94 out of 194, all of them significant, and similarly for Rivera, 65 out of 193. So only one strike in terms of all of those attempted, only one strike different between the two, but 65 significant strikes there for Jimmie Rivera, 1 out of 5 takedowns. But you can see Munhoz again, output being the key here. And I'm counting, I'm counting 31, 40 leg kicks over 3 rounds. That's plaudits to Jimmie Rivera for surviving that long. You could have applauded him almost taking the easy way out and letting his leg get the better of him, but he stood tall, carried on. Now he won the striking in terms of the first round, in terms of the striking to the head. But other than that, it was all Pedro Munhoz who dominated the fight really. And for me, I'd like to see him up against Marlon Moraes, who's obviously coming off a couple of losses now. He's in a bit of a sticky situation in that division. And to me, I think that's a good fight to make, especially for Pedro Munhoz. He's got a win over Cody Garbrandt and stands in fourth. He's going to be probably fighting Jose Aldo. Rob Font you can maybe make against Pedro Munhoz. That would be a good fight. But personally, Marlon Moraes is the one for me. And then maybe we revisit that Jimmie Rivera fight later down the line, later down the year, maybe December time. Maybe give them 5 rounds too, who knows? If they both get a win in the next fight, that could very much be a 5-round main event. That would be phenomenal. I think many people last night wanted 2 extra rounds of that fight, and I think we're going to get at least 3. They're going to make the trilogy. It's just about when rather than if. But a fantastic fight on the night. And I did say it would be fight night, and the boys proved me right. So a fantastic performance from them both. And it was one draw on the card between Montana De La Rosa and Mayra Bueno Silva, of course, or Mayra Bueno Silva. And it was, it was a good scrap, wasn't it? Obviously, the first round we saw a point deduction, and that almost, immediately took the win away from Bueno Silva, especially that first round was 9-9, I believe they gave it. There was one scorecard given to Bueno Silva who gave that last round, I think, a 10-8 to Silva. When that was a bit harsh, it would have been 10-9, and I think 28-28. Serves them both correct. Montana De La Rosa comfortably won that second round, and Bueno Silva was obviously, her gas tank was able to come back in that third, and she put on a beating against Montana De La Rosa, cut her up pretty badly on the feet or on the ground, should I say? And yeah, a draw for me was a good result. No sort of rubbery here, no sort of talking points in terms of why we're judging it like that. I think that was a fairly judged fight. Now, someone who didn't agree with the judges was Alexander Hernandez. who obviously lost to Thiago Moises, and Thiago Moises looked phenomenal in his fight. And we don't really know, and I think the MMA, sort of fan base and MMA Twitter doesn't really understand where the scoring for Alexander Hernandez has come from, with all due respect. It was a very close fight. I'm just looking at the stats here: 50 strikes. So Alexander Hernandez at 205, up against 53 for 183 for Thiago Moises. So you can say on a pure sort of percentage basis, Moises won that fight, albeit very close. And now if we break it down into rounds, you got 19 and 17 in the first round for Alexander Hernandez, 17 and 16 for round 2, and 20 and 40 for round 3. So you instantly say, okay, you've got round 3. I think was it 30-27? I don't know off the top of my head if it was 30-27 or if it was 29-28. But either way, coming towards the end of the fight, you didn't think that was a robbery when the scorecard and results did get called out in the end. And it says Alexander Hernandez coming off a couple of losses. He will feel hard done by. And it was, 30-27 and 1 29-28. So one did give, obviously, the first round to Alexander Hernandez, which, if you're looking at pure strikes and pure numbers of the striking without looking at the damage and looking at the control, etc., you would probably give them round 1. Round 2 is very close. But again, I don't think there was anything or anyone hard done by with that result. And Thiago Moises, I saw him commenting on MMA Fights post today, giving almost a little laugh after Alexander came out. As he said that he deserved to win 2.5 rounds of that fight and thought he had done enough to earn the decision, of course. Now, moving on to, of course, Alexis Davis put on a good win against Sabina Matzo, looked phenomenal on the ground, had a very good first and third round with the takedowns. Ronnie Lawrence giving us the TKO and KO of the night with some good ground and pound against Vince Cachero. Dustin Jacoby obviously got a unanimous decision win. Alex Caceres in the win column as well against Kevin Kroom. I feel sorry that Kevin Kroom got battered against, well, I say battered. He didn't look as good as his previous fight, should we say. But Alex Caceres is an absolute monster anyway, an absolute gangster, obviously, coming out from Florida, I believe. And, he put on a good performance. He opened up the card. It was a good fight. I would have liked to see probably Thiago Moises, Alexander Hernandez ahead of it. But, it's a good fight nonetheless. And it does put him up to 18 and 12. He's on a 4-fight win streak now. So he started 2020. Well, he obviously went 2-0 in 2020, 1-1 in 2019. So he's going to want to be continuing the work he put in last year, and he's done so brilliantly with that decision win. Whereas Kevin Kroom, it wasn't a 3-fight win streak. Obviously, he made his UFC debut in 2020. It was a no contest after a standing guillotine trick. It was changed to a no contest, and obviously he's a loss now. He is 33, so not too old. So he might get another chance. I hope he does, because he seems like a good lad, a nice guy as well to have in the UFC, and you don't see anything bad from him, no trash talking from him, and an all-round good performance. But yes, Bruce Leroy again got the better of him on the night, and I think that's the end of the card. Obviously, only 9 fights on there. We had a lot of cancellations. Dominic Reyes, Yuri Prochaska has been rescheduled, I believe, for next month. Alonzo Menifield, William Knight, which was the original co-main event, would have been an absolute barn burner. I think it was the original co-main event, probably was the one below that, actually. Rafael Sancho versus Hayoni Barcelos would have been incredible. Angel Hill, Ashley Yoda, we lost on the night. Of course, that would have been, again, a fantastic bout between the two. So it's one of them ones, isn't it? We have to get used to it. But, the MMA gods is gifting us this month with UFC 259, UFC 260. We've got, obviously, in between those two, Kevin Holland and Derek Brunson, and Leon Edwards versus Bilal Muhammad. And obviously, we've got Cage Warriors Trilogy coming up in I think it's March 12th. Oh, no, it's on St. Patrick's weekend, I believe. March 20th to 22nd. And obviously, some fantastic fights in there. And obviously, Bellator comes back at the start of April, too. So, a lot to look forward to. And sometimes, these cards happen. But again, it performed, considerable work. They're grade C, grade B, put grade in the card. And yeah, I think that's where we leave it there. Obviously, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to hit that follow button if you're watching on Facebook or Twitch. We're on the road to the affiliate now. We need 50 followers. So if you can hit that follow button, watch it on Twitch. We'll be doing a lot more gaming videos coming soon as well. We have to work out when. Maybe on a Sunday afternoon after the fights, we can just chill and talk about what we've seen on the night before. Maybe we do that Sunday actually, depending on maybe if there's an new light heavyweight champion around still. And obviously there's 2 other title fights on that night as well. Fantastic card, absolutely stacked. One of the best we're going to see in a long time, maybe the best this year. And we're only in March. So yes, I'll leave it there, guys. Make sure, as I mentioned, hit that follow button, subscribe buttons, and check out the socials at CageChat MMA on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. And I'll see you guys tomorrow.